right now, inside this arena, a final game is being played to determine the outcome of a prestigious tournament. Over the course of the last few hours, through a series of different challenges of skill, 10 teams of 4 have been meticulously and systematically whittled down to just 2. Now, our championship contenders are playing a heated best-of-5 series to determine who will walk away with the crown, and we've just entered sudden death territory. Our last team standing, represented here by the colors pink and purple, are trading shots back and forth with projectiles that, upon contact, eliminate any player they touch on the opposite side of the field. The top-seeded pink team got off to a hot start in games 1 and 2, but the second-seeded purple clutched up and won 2 games in a row to force this tiebreaker. It's all come down to this. If you haven't already figured out what's going on here, or you somehow completely missed the title of this video, you probably think this is some kind of contact sport, something like dodgeball. Well, you're almost right. This is Dodgebolt, a game like dodgeball except the court is constantly shrinking, suspended over lava, and there's no chance for salvation by catching errant shots. This is the final round of the Minecraft Championships, the most prestigious minigame competition in the Minecraft community. This is the San Diego Convention Center, home of TwitchCon and this year's MCC Twitch Rivals game, the most highly anticipated on the MCC calendar. And this is a sports documentary about the internet's favorite block game. This is the story of how the Pink Parrots won the MCC Copper Crown. Hi, I'm Frostbyte Freeman, and I'll be your play-by-play commentator for today. We're picking up right in the middle of the action, Game 5. Don't worry, the games are easy and you'll learn everyone's names as we go along. We're following the pink team, who just caught a lucky break. Both sides start with 1 arrow each, and pink elected to hold onto theirs to start the round. Purple has missed their first shot, meaning pink now has 2 bolts and purple has twice the number of projectiles to dodge. In this game, the hot hand plays, so pink's current top shooters, GeminiTay and fruitberries, step to the front of the line. Gem sinks her first shot. Fruit misses, but that's okay. Purple gets both arrows back, whiffs 1, and manages to take out GoodTimesWithScar, the beating heart and soul of the pink team, with the other. His callouts will be sorely missed, but again, not to worry. We still got our top 2 shooters locked and loaded at the front line, and the numbers game is still 3-3. Gem misses her first shot, and now the arrows are back to 1-1, but Fruit has a clutch hit here. After that early miss, he's starting to pick back up some momentum, which is a very encouraging sign for pink. He's their top marksman, and he's probably feeling some serious nerves right now. All he needs is to just settle in, find his rhythm again, and everything is going to be just fine. Okay, fruitberries is gone. And there goes Gem. While I was talking, both arrows shifted back to purple, and they hit 2 shots in about as many seconds. It's officially a 2v1, and the game is on the line. We might be cooked. That's my fault. My bad, guys. Luckily, pink still has 1 player left in the game. You haven't met him yet, you haven't had the chance, but you're about to. This goofy guy in the poker visor might not look familiar to you, but if you grew up watching Minecraft build tutorials here on YouTube, though, it's a probable 12-7 that you know who he is. You just don't know him by this face. Hey, Gem? Who's your 4th man again? Remind me.
He's gonna die. He's gonna die.
There we go. That's better. You probably recognize him now, right? If Minecraft Championships was an anime, this man would be the main character. You already know who he is, that's why he's the protagonist. It wasn't always that way. Right now, the Pink Parrots are our heroes, our main characters, outnumbered and outgunned, and they've successfully captured the hearts, minds, and imaginations of everyone watching along, both in San Diego and back at home. But there was a time not very long ago when it would have been strange to call this team heroes at all, especially in MCC, which has a long and complicated history with its underdogs and protagonists. To understand that, though, and to appreciate what this moment truly means to these 4 special people, we're gonna have to go back a ways. The Minecraft Championships, organized by Scott S. Major and Nox Crew, have been running for 6 years now as of this November. Few people know, remember, or even care about this now, but at the time, MCC's emergence into the fledgling Minecraft event scene came hot on the heels of Killer Keemstar's Minecraft Mondays, which had just concluded its infamous run. In stark contrast to its predecessor, MCC is much more professionally produced and proficiently designed in terms of competition and construction, but the biggest difference between MCC and MCM came down to their competitors. Keemstar wasn't really concerned with the quality of sporting product he was putting out there into the world, so he recruited streamers, edgelords, and pretty much anyone and everyone trying to hop on the S&P Live trending train at that time with a fat cash prize. The few old guard Minecrafters that populated Minecraft Mondays were mostly solo creators or washed-up team-crafted relics. Minecraft Championships, on the other hand, wanted to make its competition much more accessible to the community at large, meaning that content creators from all different facets of the crafting community received an invitation to the Decision Dome. We'll get into why that's important in a little bit, though. Throughout MCC's 6-year history, the scope of the event's ambitions has increased, and the rotating roster of games that make up the show has evolved, but the relative structure of the competition has remained mostly stable. 10 teams of 4 compete in 8 minigames, and are ranked in terms of both individual performance and overall team placement. The order in which these games are played is voted on by the players themselves, with lower-ranked teams receiving buffs and higher-ranked teams receiving nerfs in the voting process. Each game is worth progressively more points thanks to a multiplier, which puts a premium on overarching strategy and clutch performances under pressure. The top 2 teams in terms of overall points collected during the first 8 games are eligible to play in the MCC finale, the aforementioned Dodgebolt. In the MCC Live series, however, the Twitch Rivals rule set reduces the number of minigames from 8 to 6, which not only reduces the total number of coins up for grabs, but makes late multiplier gameplay that much more intense. In MCC Live, if you want to claim the crown, you can ill afford to have more than just one down game. You have to perform consistently, across the board, and win out when it matters most. This is precisely the predicament currently facing our protagonists in Pink. So, with that out of the way, let's meet the Pink Parrots. And personally, I can think of no better place to begin than with their beating heart and soul, the man who lets the good times roll, and the person this team was built around. The one, the only, GoodTimesWithScar. Longtime friends of the channel will remember Scar from the hour-long Hermitcraft documentary I made as an ode to his magnificent megabase, Scarland. You're probably wondering then what the block game's very own version of a whimsical Walt Disney is doing in the Decision Dome. As a matter of fact, if you're new around here, you're probably wondering what a member of the Hermitcraft server is doing in MCC at all. It's a valid question to ask. God knows the original wave of MCC competitors were asking it too. A lot.
Oh, we're going against Team Hermitcraft.
Oh, that's an easy dub.
Like I said before, when Scott S. Major and Nox Crew originally founded the Minecraft Championships, their goal was to create an event that spanned across the entirety of the MC community with all of its niches and eccentricities, and that meant extending an invite to the Hermits. But notably, the Hermitcraft server isn't known for their PvP expertise nor their parkour prowess. No, by and large, the Hermits are known as builders. Builders and nothing but, whether or not that reputation is justified. So naturally, in those early days, the majority of the MCC pool had a whole lot to say about the least conventionally competitive players on the roster, and they didn't hold back from saying it either. Hermits were called dead weight, consistently left stranded at the bottom of the pack, and even the inclusion of minigames that prioritized building and block knowledge were lambasted by the player base as dumb and pointless. You know, as if those skills had no place or purpose whatsoever in a game literally about mining and crafting different blocks. That perception has thankfully become less pervasive, but there was still a time in recent memory when even a Hermit's placement in MCC could kick off a wave of drama that engulfed the Twitter trending tab. Scar's MCC individual placement history is about what you'd expect from the historical Hermit stereotype. From the field of 40, he consistently ranks in the high 30s to low 20s. But you know what? Who cares? What are you, a nerd? Sports at their best are about more than winning and losing, or individual records and high scores. They're about collaboration and teamwork and competing against yourself. And Scar has an absolute blast in MCC. He always goes all in on the team-themed skins in the introduction builds. He's an utter delight on comms, and his injections of pure positivity make him the heart and soul of just about any team he finds himself on. He truly understands the spirit of MCC as about community, collaboration, and fun. It's a fitting role for him to play, as on the Hermitcraft server, he's a leader and organizer too. Season after season, Scar is the one setting up shopping districts, constructing pivotal server infrastructure, collaborating with charities, and marshalling the Hermitcraft community to do good. Plus, even if he is basically the Minecraft equivalent of Walt Disney, that doesn't mean he's a slouch in competition. He might not have his axe crits or movement totally mastered, but like Walt Disney, he's a crack shot when it counts. He's the heart and soul of this team, but he's far from the only hermit on the Parrots. In fact, 3/4 of this team hail from the same server, literally living next door to one another. And up next is a hermit that stubbornly defies the server's stereotypes for MCC performance. Up next is GeminiTay. Don't get me wrong, she's still a great builder in her own right, but compared to her server mates, conventional wisdom would dictate that Gem is a bit techier than the rest, if her beachfront collection of severed heads was any indication. Gem's average placement history is in the high 20s, but that statistic is a bit deceptive in that she's only been playing since MCC 17. She's sneakily good, as the first hermit to ever crack the top 5 individual leaderboard in MCC April Fools, with a strong clutch gene that kicks in under pressure. This is especially obvious in minigames like Sands of Time, where there's a constant ticking clock and players have to explore ancient tombs and dungeons to collect as much gold as they can before the Sword of Damocles finally drops. You can have all the movement, ability, and strategy in the world, but if you can't perform those same feats under pressure, you'll leave the dungeon with nada, zip, zilch. Not Gem. Somehow, she always manages to sink those buzzer beater shots and ball out when the moment requires it most. Gem's record in Dodgebolt is probably the best indicator of her performance under pressure though. She clutched her first coin just 3 tournaments after joining the field and has won out in a whopping 2/3 of her Dodgebolt appearances. Of those various victories, though, by far the most impressive is her showing in MCC Party 2, where she single-handedly carried her Orange Ocelots to victory by hitting 7 out of 10 shots to close the game. 7 out of 10 from the field, 70%! MCC itself doesn't track pure Dodgebolt shooting percentage, unfortunately, so to give you some much-needed perspective on how insane that is, I'm gonna have to get a little creative with my analogies here. Let me introduce you to Ryan Kalkbrenner, an NBA rookie for the Charlotte Hornets, formerly of the Creighton Blue Jays, who are located somewhere in Middle America, I presume. For the 2025-2026 season, his very first as a professional basketball player, he was the association's leader in field goal percentage, standing at a whopping 75.3% on all attempts, the second highest single-season field goal percentage in the nearly 80-year history of the NBA. However, notably, Ryan Kalkbrenner is also a 7'1" center and is permanently stationed in the paint, where he's able to snatch up easy lobs and dishes and convert on high percentage close range looks, right at the cup. The man is an absolute monster, and a second round steal for Charlotte. He is, objectively, one of the greatest big men to ever grace the college game. He was the 4-time Big East Defensive Player of the Year and winner of the Kareem Abdul-Jabbar Award. Unless you think that he's just tall, his overall defensive IQ is through the roof. This is the stratosphere of absolute dominance we're talking about here. This sort of anomalously great performance exists so far beyond the confines of the block game that it can only be described in the form of analogy. Basically, what I'm saying is this. The only way GeminiTay could have possibly shot any better in MCC Party 2 was if she was a literal giant and the other team was standing motionless a foot from her face on the firing line. That's how scarily good she is under pressure. She's a stone-cold slayer and God's favorite princess for a reason. By now, you're probably expecting me to talk about the third and final hermit on the Parrots bench. I mean, we're 2,000 words and 5 pages into the script, and I haven't even said his name out loud yet. But come on, he's the main character. There's a reason I'm saving him until last, just trust me. First, I want to shift gears a little bit. The hermits often sardonically refer to themselves as professional Minecraft players, but that's only because thanks to the emerging popularity of MCSR, the popular perception of a Minecraft pro isn't really defined by building or redstone aptitude nowadays. To be a pro, properly, you've got to be cracked at the game. Third up for the Parrots is a certified professional in every sense of the word, their player/coach, and one of the most interesting figures in the history of the Minecraft Championships. Walk with me here. I'm going to tell you about my guy Fruit. Speedrunner and house builder guy Fruitberries is one of the consensus greatest players in MCC history, having been a tournament regular since its 6th ever edition. Over his seasons, he's put together a truly impressive resume. He currently holds the record for fastest time on 6 different to get to the other side maps. He's had the highest individual point total despite not finishing on a first place team in 5 separate championships, and in the 5th of those specifically, the Ender Cup, he managed it at the highest total number of coins earned by a single player in a single event, a whopping 4,403, dethroning the record long held by Technoblade. He's won 4 MCCs thus far, the highest number on this squad. There's still one accolade he needs to cap off his career Grand Slam though, At the first MCC Twitch Rivals event in 2023, his team came in third, just one place shy of the top 2 podium spots needed to punch a ticket to Dodgebolt. Despite his history of individual success, this guy is a consummate team player and a professional, so you know this has to be killing him. But it gets worse even still for our boy Fruit. Just a few months later, on the 21st night of September in 2024, at that year's Twitch Rivals in San Diego, he's teamed with 2 other Hermits, Impulse SV and Skizzleman, along with Hannah Rose. They come in first overall in coin totals, and that'll get you to the dance, but you gotta go the rest of the way. Fruit and his Yellow Yaks lose the first game of Dodgebolt, but bounce back to win 2 straight. All they need is just one more win in the next 2 games, and they just don't get it. After leading 2-1, the Yaks fall just shy of the end zone. This MCC did manage to crown 2 new first-time champions in Abe and Gucky, which is really cool, but to see Fruit's quest to take his team all the way to the top of the mountain fall just short of the finish line is nothing short of devastating. Fruit is a multi-time MCC winner and record holder, but for our purposes, this anecdote is the most notable of his entire career because it's indicative of a trend that's beginning to emerge of late. You see, many lifetimes ago, Fruit was on the first ever MCC team consisting of any Hermitcraft members to win the coin, the legendary MCC9 Blue Bats. Ah, the bats. I love few things more in this life than underdog sports teams that wear white and blue and suffer through every second of the game just to make you feel something. Like I said before, MCC was a different ballgame back then. Back in those days, the Hermits were pretty much dead weight. Everyone said so. Out loud. Sometimes to their faces. I think it goes without saying, but MCC was in real danger of inheriting the toxicity left behind by its predecessor. The Bats changed all of that. H-Bomb 94, Fruitberries, and the endlessly self-effacing and ever-grateful Rendog and False Symmetry. That stigma around less traditionally competitive players didn't evaporate overnight, but their come-from-behind sweep sent a pretty radical message that every competitor in MCC deserved to be taken seriously, and that every team deserved a chance to actually have fun in this sport for a change. And when they won, it was like every Hermit exhaled the breath they had all collectively been holding. I think they just needed to see one go through, you know? After that, the Hermits started playing loose and having fun a lot more. It's hard to do that when everyone thinks you're dragging them down, though. No one likes to be a jinx. And while the Bats proved to the Hermits that they weren't bad luck, since then, Fruit has been kind of cursed himself. He's never won an MCC playing for a team that wasn't at least partially blue in color composition. Hey, you might think I'm reaching here, but this is the wonderfully weird world of sports, my friend. It is this narrator's opinion that stranger things than superstitions happen all the time. Even to this day, MCC9 stands as one of the shining moments of his career, and the one time he managed to take his friends the Hermits all the way. It's not been for lack of trying, though. Of the 31 MCCs he's participated in, Fruit has been teamed with at least one Hermit 15 times. He's been to Dodgebolt 11 times in his career, and only taken home 4 coins. Was this his curse? Was he doomed by an indifferent universe to only have this one shining, perfect game where he punched out the odds and wrote the perfect story for his team, and after it, nothing more? No one likes to be a jinx. You can win all the coins you want, but it doesn't mean as much without friends to celebrate with, and Fruit knows it. No man is an island. It's worth mentioning, though, at that same tournament in San Diego last year, the one where Fruit lost, Scar's team came in 4th. Gem's team came in 3rd. The Pink Parrots are a team of perennial contenders, and they've all consistently been getting better. It just hasn't been their time to shine on the MCC live stage. They're hoping that this time around, though, that won't be the case. So, Scar is the heart and soul of the Parrots. If anyone is going to keep their motivations up and carry them through to the finish line, it's going to be him. But he's not the Parrots' ace. Gem is the muscle and hustle of the Parrots. If anyone's going to put some surprise points on the board and keep the boys on task, it's going to be her. But she's not the Parrots' ace. Fruit is the consensus best overall player on the Parrots. If anyone is going to get them to the dance and break the curse, it's going to be him. But he is not the Parrots' ace. An ace is a difficult thing to explain. They're not always the best player on your team, best fighter in your promotion, what have you. What they are, however, is reliable. If time's running low on the clock, if your world champion gets injured, if someone drops the ball, that's when you send in the ace to pick it right back up again. This is the role on this team that Grian's going to serve. He's the wild card, the gong man, the dream slayer, the permit guy. He might seem chaotic and silly and random, but trust me, this is our guy. Grian, as a content creator, competitor, and human being, is perhaps best described as stubborn. In Season 7 of Hermitcraft, when fellow Parrots teammate Scar removed the exactly 13 blocks of mycelium he placed in the shopping district as a low-effort prank, Grian escalated the conflict to a full-blown terraforming turf war. In Season 10, after receiving countless comments throughout his entire Hermitcraft career about never finishing the back of his bases, Grian just decided to build it into the side of a mountain instead so he didn't have to worry about it. And now he's doing it again in Season 11. He is a classically trained trickster, master of malicious compliance, the kind of man who refuses to go around something when he could simply just go through. Grian only has one MCC win under his belt, and that's bothering him. In typical Grian fashion, though, the way in which he clinched his soul coin was instantly memorable and insanely melodramatic. With the finale going the distance to Game 5 and all his Orange Ocelot teammates dead, Grian suddenly finds himself on the business end of a 1v3, standing opposite some serious players on this season's Pink Parrots team, including fruitberries. Funny seeing him here. But Grian didn't break down the numbers game or split the difference on the disadvantage the easy way. No, that wouldn't have been Grian enough. Where's the drama in that? Where's the intrigue? Where's the suspense? So, all of Grian's teammates are dead, and he has both the arrows, right? He targets Fruit first, and manages to hit him first try, which is good strategy. That's the most dangerous man left on the court. But then, with his second shot, he misses. So now there's two remaining Pink Parrots, and each of them has an arrow trained on him. Not an ideal position for the G-Man. Somehow he manages to weave between both bolts simultaneously by the skin of his teeth. I cannot understate how close this was. You can almost see the hitbox of an arrow embed itself in his cubic skull. But hey, good news! Now it's a 1v2 again, and he has both the arrows. He trains his next shot carefully, and again he hits. And again, he misses his final arrow. So now it's a 1v1, and Orange has both arrows, and they miss both wide right. Grian has both arrows all the time in the world to train his aim and steady himself a chance to very definitively put this game away with all the ammunition in his hands to close the show, and he quickfires and misses both. He has officially fumbled 4 whole takes at the line, and now the other team has both the arrows back. Again and again, he somehow dodges both arrows, almost falls into the lava, and then, and only then, does he decide to end this agony with his final shot. Dodgebolt is always insanely suspenseful, but this might just be the single most tumultuous Game 5 in its history. And you can tell by the blood-curdling shriek Grian lets out as soon as the game over screen appears that he was dangerously close to completely losing it right there.
Yes! Oh my god!
MVP.
Oh, come on,
Grian. Holy.
Ah!
Yay.
Oh god.
It took Grian 10 straight losses to take his first taste of MCC Gold, and since then, his second dry spell has stretched to 14. This cannot stand. And to make matters worse, on the Parrots, he's paired with 2 of his very best buddies and neighbors from the Hermitcraft server, Gem and Scar. On this season of Hermitcraft, they literally live next door to one another. They share bases, they pull pranks. This is only the second time they've ever met face to face as a trio. These are his people. He cannot let them down, no matter what. So yes, Grian is stubborn, but he's reliably stubborn. There's a reason they call him Pesky Bird, and that's going to be the Pink Parrot's secret weapon. Because in the weeks leading up to TwitchCon, he doesn't want a repeat of MCC 17 on his hands again. He doesn't even want to run the risk of being the last man standing and fumbling the ball when his friends need him most. All he wants to do is train. And that's exactly what they do. From the moment that the Copper Crown teams are announced, Grian, Gem, and Scar start practicing religiously with Fruit, trying to pick up on all sorts of PvP tips and tricks, practice their timings, and improve on their overall game strategy. It's clear that the Hermits are in it to win it, and this is exactly the sort of player-coach environment where Fruit really shines. When his fellow teammates are willing to put in as much work as he is, he can prep them out well in advance and focus on staying positive and performing on the day of. Between all their practicing, both on camera and off, a bit of a buzz has started to form surrounding the Parrots. Something is different this time, it's in the air. At long last, the fateful day arrives. TwitchCon San Diego is here, and for the Parrots, that means they've got to travel well if they want to be at their best by tournament time. Gem has a maze of connecting flights from Canada to the States. Grian is crossing the pond and coping with jet lag, but it's Scar who takes the grand prize for terrible travel stories, as always. He's stopped and harangued by TSA over the lithium batteries he has to carry for both his and his father's medical equipment, despite making an appointment in advance through TSA Cares to try and work around his disability, and all of his meticulously packed medicines, drinks, and miscellaneous supplies are messily unpacked, only adding to the aggravation. At least one of the more sympathetic TSA guys was there to talk shop about COD with him, though. I don't know. Day 1 and 2 at TwitchCon are spent with your typical content creator activities. The Hermits are busy on the first day with their panel, one of the most popular in convention history, and the second day they're swamped with meet and greets. Scar's been burning the candle at both ends, dealing with malfunctions to his medical equipment, only netting about an hour and a half of sleep on the day they first landed. And Grian and Gem haven't fared much better. MCC is on the last day of TwitchCon, meaning that by that point in their schedule, between parties and hangouts and activities both on and off the convention floor, literally everyone in the competition is exhausted. But that's especially true for the Parrots. The night before the tournament, Scar is returning to his hotel room from another meet and greet. Thanks to Twitch's frankly appalling lack of disability accommodations, he's spent all day stooped over signing stuff at the kiddie table they gave him, and the mask he's wearing to interact with his fans while protecting his immune system has caused his asthma to flare up something fierce. He's feeling faint from lack of oxygen, his vision is swimming, and stricken with a sudden spell of dizziness, he can no longer remain upright as he positions himself to sit down on the toilet. Scar keels forward and plummets to the ground, his head and hips strike the bathroom tile hard, and he crumples into a heap. Scar's dad, unsure if he can help lift his son back up without injuring himself in the process, immediately starts to dial 911 before he's stopped by Scar himself from down below on the floor. This isn't the first time this has happened to him. Right now, what he needs to do is remain calm. On a previous trip to Vegas, he suffered a similar fall and only passed out after being returned to an upright position due to orthostatic hypertension, where the blood rushing back into the rest of his body caused his blood pressure to drop rapidly and led to him fainting before his condition could stabilize. Scar's best bet for recovery right now is to lay right where he is on the floor and find someone who can help him back up without incurring the expense or catastrophe of an ambulance call. And wouldn't you know it, the only person he has left to call on his WhatsApp is Grian. And if there's one thing we know about Grian, it's that he's a reliable guy. The second he gets the call, Grian mobilizes the rest of the Hermits, Cub, Impulse, and Tango, who have now been informed that the previous ping in their Discord was not, in fact, a butt dialing, and they rush to Scar's room to help carry him back to an upright position. Scar's condition has stabilized thanks to the floor time, and he doesn't need to go to the hospital, thankfully, but the damage has already been done. His hip and back are bruised and swollen, and his skull, which struck the tile floor directly, hurts like hell, but he doesn't think anything is broken, so the show must go on. Tomorrow morning, Scar has decided that he'll just have to play through a cranial contusion, and the Parrots will have to soldier through and find a way to focus on the silly block game again after a genuinely terrifying health scare. Luckily, these are the Hermits we're talking about here. They're experts at grinding and gutting it out, and somehow, focusing on just having fun being together proves to be easier done than said. Come the sunrise, they're all smiles again despite how little sleep they've gotten. They race through the desolate halls of the convention center and arrive backstage to find that Fruit is already there, dripped out to the nines with an NBA-level pre-game fit looking like $1 million. Right up until the moment they wheel out on stage, the Parrots are reviewing clips from MCC's past, strategizing, VOD reviewing, trying to optimize their performance. You can tell they really want to do well, for themselves and for each other. But it's time to play the music. It's time to light the lights. It's time to play for a Minecraft championship. Right away, even as they're still sitting down and fiddling with technical difficulties and audio issues from their tournament-issued stream setups, the Parrots are trying to strategize. Even with all their training, the Hermits are aware their Achilles heel is in PvP, so they want to play those games earlier in the day to decrease the effect of the late-game coin multiplier. And luckily, they get exactly what they're after, because as the Decision Dome Authority counts up all the chickens after they've hatched, it looks like Game 1 is going to be Meltdown. Meltdown is a co-op shooter with a shrinking border where, upon being shot by the enemy team, players are frozen in place temporarily. Luckily, your team can be thawed and brought back to life with portable space heaters, if you remember to place them in time, or don't get pinched off before you can revive your support, that is. Because this is just the first game, the pressure is off for Pink. All they need to do is place in the middle of the pack, and hopefully they'll be able to make up the ground they've lost later. Round 1 starts just as the event itself did for the Parrots, with technical difficulties, that is. Everyone's busy fiddling with the game's map size on screen, so they lag back, playing less aggressively. Fruit sees they're behind a team and wants to get a quick drop on them for some early coins. However, because they're playing on a map they're ill-acquainted with, they wind up routing the wrong way and nearly run into the closing border of the zone. Rushing through, they immediately find themselves in a shootout with the purple pandas. Huh. Funny seeing them here. Fruit is frozen by 5-ups, but Grian gets his heater down in time. Gem, meanwhile, presses the advantage and manages to freeze 2 of the pandas, pinning them back behind the wall while they wait for their teammates to thaw. While that's happening, though, Grian surges forward to try and press their numerical advantage, only for a third team, the orange ocelots, to rotate through. Pandemonium ensues. In a flash, half the parrots are flash frozen and the other half fall into the lava. Round 1 of Meltdown ends with the parrots in 5th place out of the overall 10-team field. Not bad, but they're hoping they can do a bit better for the next 2 rounds to put them in a decent position for a run at the leaderboard. They do not, in fact, do any better. In fact, for Game 1, things are only going to get worse from here. In Round 2, Pink is ambushed off-rip by the Blue Bats, consisting of their friends Ollie, Scott S. Major, and Pearl. Friends outside the dome, however, have no jurisdiction here. Their entire squad goes down in seconds flat, making them the first elimination of the second round and dealing a brutal blow to their point totals, since even if you aren't racking up kills, Meltdown still awards coins based on team placement and survival duration. In Round 3, Fruit wants to play somewhat cautious, lagging back to avoid getting pinched like they did before. When they finally peek their heads out, though, they're immediately popped by Orange again. The Ocelots, consisting of Sneak Snag, PvP or Purple, then Fortnite professional / political commentator Connor Eats Pants, have been running the show in Meltdown, and the Parrots are desperate to avoid a prolonged engagement with them. They scatter, and subsequently are picked off one by one in separate duels in the process. Pink knew going in that Meltdown was going to be a tough draw for them, but they hadn't been expecting it to be this brutal. By the time the game ends, they're in 9th place, squarely at the bottom of the leaderboard, and 1,000 coins away from the top spot that will secure them a chance at Dodgebolt. Remember though, there are only 6 games in the MCC Live format, so the Parrots don't have the luxury of multiple games to bounce back. They need to turn it on, and now. Luckily, Game 2 is Railroad Rush, a game where players compete to lay the longest line of minecart track through a veritable minefield of obstacles, which is much more conducive to the Parrots' strategic cerebral strengths. This is when the ace steps in.
Remember the strat?
Yes.
Railroad guy.
I'm the collector.
I got it on my phone, bro.
Grian takes control of the call as the team's organizer. He knows they need a big boost in coins to start climbing their way back up the ranks. He and Fruit will be laying down the track, Gem will be cracking open the vaults along the way for bonus coins, and Scar will be watching their cart, overseeing their progress and ensuring no explosions break the track or stop it from going the distance. This game, the Parrots are a well-oiled machine. They're keeping track of the precise intervals they need to hit by the second, netting big payloads in the Railroad Rush mining minigames and mechanically assembling their route for maximum efficiency. But as the clock starts winding down, their immaculate callouts on comms slip ever so slightly. In Railroad Rush, you're allowed to run multiple trial attempts to see if your minecart loop is even feasible, but when the whistle sounds, you can't modify your route any further and you're stuck with what you've got. As the rest of the team surges ahead towards the finish line, Scar's still holding, lagging back to close the circuit right by a broken piece of track. He's still under the impression that they're doing test rides. He hasn't heard Grian call for the last minecart to submit their final run. This is going to be close. Closer than he even realizes, because he genuinely doesn't know they're about to run out of time. If he doesn't place this single solitary piece of rail in the next 5 seconds, the Parrots will lose the entire tournament. They will be mathematically eliminated from contention. Pink Parrots wait until the last possible second to pull the trigger on their final run, and they watch in disbelief as their points go from dead last for this minigame to first. And that performance powers a jump on the overall leaderboard from 10th to 4th. It looks like their shot at the crown isn't gone just yet. Sure, Railroad Rush was probably their best game on the board, but there's still a glimmer of hope that if they hang tight and play competitive, they can be vying for the final 2 spots. After a brutal series of technical difficulties and a momentum-draining first round, the Parrots have found themselves a second win when they needed it most. Game 3, though, is another PvP-heavy minigame, and one the Parrots have been dreading, because this, right here, is the original. The minigame from which Minecraft Mondays, and subsequently MCC, once spawned. I don't even need to tee this one up or explain how it works. All I need to do is say 2 words. Survival games. Last team standing wins. Things look bleak, but not as bleak as you might think. See, all the way back in MCC 9, Fruit's Blue Bats team had been dealt a similarly brutal hand in survival games, and not only did they manage to survive, but they took their title shot all the way to the wire. In that game, with Fruit playing the role of top fragger and the rest of the team prioritizing their survival by skirting away from protracted engagements, they managed to tap into a pretty clutch coin multiplier awarded for team survival. In the intervening years, that bonus has been nerfed, but the Parrots are playing with the same philosophy. At the start of the game, rather than pushing inwards, they loop around the border to siphon off as much loot as they can, with Gem, Grian, and Scar obediently toddling after Fruit like a clutch of little lost baby ducklings. Journeying inland, though, they find themselves at a perilous impasse, forced to duck underneath a bridge while 2 separate teams try to pelt them with arrows. Unlike in Meltdown, though, they decide to grit their teeth and try to make a break for it, hoping their pursuers will distract each other. A strategy that pays dividends when they escape and start picking up some serious coins by opening unlooted supply drops and killing hostile mobs. And suddenly they find themselves in the final circle, trapped inside a zone only a couple hundred blocks wide with every other team dueling to the death. Because the Parrots have been avoiding PvP encounters, they're seriously undergeared. But while everyone else rushes forward into the final showdown, they box themselves into a corner and bow back their pursuers to discourage further engagement. They've learned their lesson from their frantic comms during Meltdown and are playing more cautiously than before. When Scar accidentally misinputs and drops down into the fray, the entire team unanimously elects to leave him behind so that they can remain a united front. With fruitberries as their top frag, everyone piles in behind him as they loop around the arena, staying out of trouble. Even in the midst of fighting, they refuse to split up, discouraging the other teams through their strength in numbers. In the chaos and carnage, without even realizing it, the Parrots have wound up the last team standing. Their overall placement rockets from 4th to 2nd. After a disastrous start, their recovery could not have gone better. Just 2 games in, and the Pink Parrots are on the pole for Dodgebolt, right in behind the Purple Pandas by a mere 100 coins. The race to the top is over. Now comes the hard part, because they need to maintain their current lead over the rest of the pack for the next 3 minigames, all while their strengths are picked off the board one by one. Narratively and dramatically speaking, you couldn't have asked for a better time to take a brief intermission. During the halftime break in play, the viewers at home have the chance to vote for the next minigame up on the docket. Meanwhile, in the real-life Decision Dome in San Diego, the broadcast team is putting on an award show, the inaugural edition of the annual Crafty Awards, Mojang's way of highlighting notable achievements in the community over the last year. And speaking of communities, the Hermitcraft server has just won the Crafted Hearts Award for most endearing and inspiring community. Of course, the chief community organizer and heart of Hermitcraft, GoodTimesWithScar, should be the man to accept this award on behalf of his best friends. All he has to do is walk out on stage, shake some hands, and... Folks, I'm seeing a bit of a problem here. GoodTimesWithScar cannot walk, and the Twitch Rivals stage doesn't have a ramp for him to wheel up. Well, these things happen. Accidents, no matter how unfortunate a blunder they may be, are still accidents. It's not as if Mojang knew ahead of time which content creators they were going to honor at the Crafty Awards, and it's not as if that information could have been clearly communicated to Twitch. Hold on just a moment. I'm being told by my producer, who is also me, that this is, in fact, how award shows work, and that Twitch totally knew Scar and the Hermits would be accepting this award in advance. Well, I'm not really sure what to say right now. This appalling lack of disability accommodations has shocked, saddened, and disappointed all of you good people at home, and even your humble narrator right here in the commentary booth. Don't worry though, at least that unfortunate bit of stage design won't come up again later. Welcome back from intermission. While we were ruminating in real time about the ableism hard-baked into every facet of our society's inaccessible infrastructure, the people have made their voices heard. Game 4 of MCC will be Ace Race, the high-octane, no-holds-barred race to the finish around 3 laps of obstacles, boosts, and Mario Kart-esque track switches. This is a game that prioritizes parkour and movement, meaning that Fruitberries is in his element. The rest of the Parrots, however, will need to run for their lives if they want to stay in front of the competition. Fortunately, they've trained for this. Remember those last-minute VOD reviewing sessions they did backstage? They were studying the route on Ace Race maps from tournaments past. Fruit has taken great pains to find not only the fastest path through the course, but also the most optimal route, because there's a difference. Fruit himself might be able to make the jumps and block clutches required for the fastest route, but for someone like Scar, the most optimal path might not have as many of those secret shortcuts. What they need is a way through that they can consistently replicate for results without getting slowed down by setbacks or pitfalls, and the Parrots think they've found it. Of course, all that analysis will be dust in the wind if Nox Crew built a whole new Ace Race map just for the Copper Crown, but the Parrots catch a lucky break and pull a semi-aquatic route they already know by heart. The second the starter's pistol fires, they all veer wide right, using their Riptide Tridents to rocket through the water. Fruit, discombobulated, falls further back in the field in an uncharacteristic move. But don't worry, because while he's still getting his bearings and locking in, the Ace is doing Ace things. Someone's got to put the Parrots out in front and hold the line until Fruit catches back up, after all. Grian is fighting for first in Ace Race all the way up until he misses a risky jump over some Soul Sand parkour. Despite this, he only falls to 6th in the running, and right behind him are Gem and Fruit, who know the way by heart. As the second and final lap begins, Fruit has made some truly insane splits to catapult himself into second place, a remarkable comeback from his first lap stumbles. Grian, meanwhile, has been consistently berating himself for even the slightest of missed inputs, despite the fact that his spot in the top 10 hasn't shifted at all. But just like how he helped Fruit to lock in during the first lap, Fruit and his teammates are here for him too.
Come on. I'm falling behind, guys.
It's all good. Yeah, I don't think I should go for it.
No, play it safe, man. Play it safe. We're all doing well.
Fruitberries finishes with the second fastest run overall, just 7 seconds behind fellow MCC GOAT Pizza Hut, and records the third fastest lap time to boot. Grian comes in 8th, while Gem, despite a few stumbles, lands in 14th. And even though he did come in last out of all the Parrots, Fruit's VOD reviewing helped catapult GoodTimesWithScar into his best ever showing in Ace Race at 29th place, which is nothing to scoff at. Because their entire team raced well across the board, though, the Parrots have rocketed into the overall lead with an 800 coin buffer between themselves and their second place rivals, the Purple Pandas. They're starting to taste it now. With 2 games to go, Dodgebolt feels like it might actually be within reach. Game 5 is Rocket Spleef. This penultimate minigame is chaos incarnate, with explosions flying everywhere as our Elytra-equipped players soar through the skies and try to break the blocks under each other's feet. Rocket Spleef's inherent instability means the Parrots can't take advantage of their super high team cohesion and chemistry. It's every player for themselves. The best you can do here is communicate advice about the changing stages and then fend for yourselves. After an explosive round 1, which saw the Parrots eliminated one by one, Pink is still in second for Rocket Spleef thanks to a couple kills from Fruit and Grian. In round 2, though, the lack of ability to properly communicate in such a random and cramped space starts to take its toll when Fruit accidentally explodes Scar in midair. Despite never reaching the end of the game, though, the Parrots continue to rack up kills and spleefs that have them at the top of the rankings. It's at this point that you can hear the live audience starting to bleed through on their mics.
Let's go. That was so good. Yes.
Come on, guys.
Oh, look at that.
They can taste it too. And when Rocket Spleef ends with the Parrots barely in front of the Pandas by 600 coins, the hype from the crowd is palpable. But they can't afford to get comfortable now. The final game for the Copper Crown will be a punishing, grueling affair. Fittingly for the finale, it's a game that rewards clutch performance, quick thinking, and team cohesion. The Parrots will be tested like never before, and they'll have to perform at their very best in Grid Runners.
Right, Grid Runners. We need to lock in good comms.
Wow. Okay.
Grid Runners is a race consisting of multiple Minecraft puzzles making use of game mechanics and quirks of map design that all 10 teams need to race through in record time. Its communicative and collaborative elements benefit the Parrots, but at the same time, Grid Runners is a game you can't really train for either. Puzzles seldom repeat, and if they do, the same mechanics are employed in wildly different ways. You just have to send it. And that's exactly what the Parrots do. Hurtling into the first room, though, their comms wind up exacerbating their challenges. They're all so eager to chime in and contribute that they wind up talking over one another and causing confusion over the game's size-changing mechanic. In the confusion, while they try to clear the slime and complete the challenge, the Purple Pandas leap to a soaring lead. Suddenly, it's the Parrots that are chasing to catch up. Outside of the grid, they're still first overall, but with the multiplier, that buffer will vanish in a hurry. They need to do well enough in this game to stay alive and secure their spot in the top 2, but with each puzzle they're falling further and further behind. Their scores plummet from the middle of the pack to 7th place. Rallying, they managed to blitz through the next 3 games with solid upper-level splits, putting them back in 2nd, but by now they're running blind. They won't be able to know the extent of the damage that's been done to their scores until the game is over and the final scores are tabulated. The final puzzle of Grid Runners, though, features the return of the same shrinking mechanic that confabulated Pink's comms previously. Needing to light every lamp in the room to leave, they accidentally wind up undoing one another's work, bumbling and blundering in their efforts to find the final switch they need to throw. They drop from 2nd to 4th in the minigame standings, and the top 2 teams are the juggernauts of Orange and Purple, who have been hot on Pink's heels the entire day. Depending on how big this multiplier is, they're beginning to worry that those 2 might be the teams in Dodgebolt. The Pink Parrots played the perfect game up until this last hurdle. Only now do they begin to doubt themselves. Did they do enough? Are they in the clear? Will they even get the chance to stake their claim on the crown, or will they cruelly finish just short? Pink doesn't even get the chance to find out where they stand, though, because just before they do, the lights cut out. I haven't mentioned it yet, it wasn't strictly relevant, but throughout the tournament there have been these little animated skits playing in the real-life Decision Dome between minigames. To coincide with the Copper Crown theme of the event, there's this villager scientist who's trying to create a giant copper golem, but then it escapes and it's on the loose, causing mayhem. It's a whole thing. To restore power and save the day from the rampaging mechanical monster, the players have to actually get out of their seats and go plug in some big, bulky prop power cables in order to kill time while the final scores are being tabulated. Everyone else in the entire tournament gets to go up on stage and participate in this dumb little activity, shake hands, hug it out, exchange pleasant conversation, and say good game for one another as they catch their breaths and wait for the final scores to trickle in. Not the Pink Parrots. Because thanks once again to TwitchCon's lack of accessibility, Scar can't even get onto the stage to do this post-match decompression activity in the first place, so all they can do is stand around awkwardly on the sidelines and watch. It's like the Parrots have been lashed to the mast of their proverbial ship, stuck at the foot of the stage, sailing blind into a squall at the edge of oblivion. They're stressed, they're tired, they don't even know if they're moving on to the finale or not. Right now, they are all alone. When they finally sit back down before their monitors, the screen is completely dark. All they can do is wait. All they can do is watch as the final duelists for the crown are revealed. And they're in. The Pink Parrots are in. After all their hard work, all their training and preparation, after all the trials and tribulations and setbacks, they have a chance to win it all. They're up against the Purple Pandas in the final bout. Grian, Gem, Scar, and Fruit all string up their bows, crack their knuckles, don their jackets, and walk through the tunnel out onto the Dodgebolt floor. The music started, the crowd is roaring, both online and in real life, and as the final countdown begins, the Jumbotron overhead displays the results of a real-time poll to see who the audience thinks will win the whole dang thing. The story of the Pink Parrots has been one of close calls and near misses, of miraculous clutches and impossible performances. They came from dead last to take the top spot heading into Dodgebolt by just 36 coins, only barely beating the Pandas who had been their betters throughout the entire competition. 4C, 5UP, and SK are all downright lethal in the arena. Sure, they're not the most well-known in the Minecraft scene, but their experience in other video games will matter most under the specific constraints of the final shootout. 4C hails from Minecraft's deadliest server, whose name needs no further introduction. 5UP and SK both main competitive shooters that make them an absolute menace in aim-based games, a perfect synthesis for Dodgebolt. Even their first-time teammate, FanFan, is no slouch. The Parrots are in for a downright dogfight if they want to win it all. Whatever happens next, this is going to be one of the closest, craziest Dodgebolts in MCC history. But the fans don't seem to think so. Oh, sorry. Hang on a second. Did I have you thinking that the Pink Parrots were underdogs? That's my bad. They weren't. They were the tournament favorites this whole time. On the pre-show poll, broadcast host JoJo Solo selected the Pink Parrots as her top contenders based on practice, team chemistry, and cohesion.
Who's winning the Copper Crown, JoJo?
You know what? We're gonna go Pink Parrots again.
Pink Parrots!
Before every game, MCC polls its viewer base to see who they think the winner of each individual minigame will be, and right or wrong, every single poll in the Copper Crown had the exact same answer. Based on that margin of victory in the pre-Dodgebolt survey, though, who do you think won? It got to a point where the parrots themselves were becoming visibly uncomfortable each time their names were called. No one else even stood a chance. You have to understand, way back when, that sort of selection criteria would have been unthinkable in the era when MCC was defined by individual iconoclastic success. And now the Dodgebolt voting has the parrots sitting at a whopping 90% favorite. Fruit may have had the first overall individual coin score for the day, but he wasn't the only one who made the podium. Grian, our ace, placed 10th. Gem came in 15th. Scar was just 6 places below her at 21st, one of his best individual performances of all time. This team was downright dominant. The Pink Parrots were no pushover. They were the real deal from wire to wire. They were, in every sense of the word, the favorites. Gem, Scar, and Grian all joined MCC after the Great Hermit Drought had already passed, and yet its shadow still loomed heavily on the horizon. During the intervening 5 years, though, it feels like the pendulum swung back in the other direction. In MCC 9, the Hermits winning out and taking center stage was an unthinkable, cataclysmic event, and now this once impossible feat was just reality. The paradigm has inverted. It's scary and surreal, and if we were still in those first few MCC showings, if the community hadn't matured, that poll could have made things pretty nasty for the Purple Pandas. After all, certain other MCC consensus favorites had definitely wielded the power of the pulpit to disseminate toxicity in the past. But it didn't. It didn't make things nasty or toxic. Of course it didn't, because these are the Hermits, and they know what it feels like to be the 10% staring down the barrel of the other 90. It's hard to feel like you're all alone in the arena, but at least the Pandas had one team in their corner. And that team was the Pink Parrots.
Oh, 90%!
Oh my god, no.
That's gonna feel bad for Purple, my god!
Yeah, guys. guys.
Good lord! Purple, I think you're got a chance too.
Hey, look, I love you, Purple.
We love Purple.
To me, the way Grian, Gem, Fruit, and Scar react to the results of this live polling is very indicative of the mindset that the Pink Parrots had adopted since the very start of the Copper Cup. They were just glad to be there. And I don't mean on the Dodgebolt floor. They were just glad to be in the tournament, grateful for the opportunity to be a part of something so intricate and thoroughly planned and spectacular, grateful for the opportunity to entertain and provide whatever small solace they could to a chaotic world, grateful to just be there, and be there together, still playing the children's game with all their friends. And later, on the arena floor, when it's all said and done, Scar even says as much himself.
Couldn't have played with better people. These are all of our friends. We all love them. Congratulations to Purple. They did fantastic. And yeah, thank you for coming. You came from around the world to be here to celebrate Minecraft, to celebrate Twitch. Thank you for coming, everybody. Absolutely amazing.
But all that comes later. Because before the Parrots can win it all, they have to lose first. Where's the drama in a clean, clear-cut 3 and out? Where's the suspense? Where's the intrigue? Round 1. Pink elects to leave the arrow where it is. Scar is immediately targeted by 5-up, but on the plus side, Pink now has both arrows. Fruit and Gem split their shots and both nail their targets, eliminating both 4C and 5-up from the field, respectively. Now it's Purple's turn with both arrows, and default Steve Skin Fanfan, in her first ever MCC, hits her very first shot to take Grian out of contention. Purple's second shot misses, which leaves both of Pink's best shooters with both the arrows. Crossfiring, Fruit manages to take out Fanfan, and after S-Game misses both of her arrows, Pink is able to control the pace and leap out to a 1-0 lead. Round 2 begins with both arrows in Purple's possession. Grian retrieves the first arrow and Scar gives Fruit the second. Grian takes out 4C and Fruit takes out Fanfan, prioritizing clearance on the left side of the court. Seconds later, though, SK and 5-up hit clutch shots on Gem and Scar to bring the numbers game to a balanced 2v2. Determining that 5-up is their highest priority target, our ace takes over the calls and tells Fruit to focus on him. If Grian misses his first shot, Fruit will immediately follow up to double tap the same target. But he doesn't. And seconds after Grian clips 5-up, Fruit picks off SK. The Pink Parrots have soared to a commanding 2-0 lead. All they need to do is win one more game, and they've clinched the crown. Statistically, this game should be a cinch. 90% of the audience thought the Parrots had this in the bag from the start, and Purple would need to win 3 games straight to even have a chance. But in the hype and excitement, what's gone unnoticed is Purple's shooting percentage from the field. In round 1, Pink caught a lucky break by removing 5-up and 4C from contention immediately. Over the first 2 rounds, though, 5UP and FanFan are both perfect from the field. 4C is 0 for 1, but that's only because he's immediately been a priority target every time, and SK is 1 for 4. The Purple Panda's biggest problem so far has been their evasive maneuvers, but now that the Parrots are up by 2 rounds, the Pandas will be starting with both arrows, all the way up until the end of the game. This entire time, Purple has been preparing themselves for a war of attrition, all while Pink's starting to suffer from tunnel vision with the crowd behind them. The tenor of this match might just favor a comeback. Round 3. The Purple Pandas are now playing under sudden death rules. Their best shooters, 4C and 5UP, start with both arrows, but only manage to knock out GeminiTay. Fruit and Grian line up together again and manage to pop both SK and FanFan simultaneously. With a 3-2 advantage in the numbers game, this is looking like a solved game for the Pink Parrots, an easy 3 and out, and they cruise to the championship. Unfortunately, in the haste of their preemptive celebrations, Pink's left both of the opposition's best shooters standing. Purple is done being starstruck. It's time to start striking back against the stars. 5UP immediately retaliates by taking out fruitberries, leaving just those desert boys in the decision dome, and when Grian and Scar whiff on both their shots, 4C and 5UP make short work of Pink. The score is now 2-1. Round 4.
Nice. Okay. Dude, the crowd is like not cheering.
It's okay. Oh, it doesn't matter.
Like, ah.
That was good. This is the reverse sweep, okay? We're coming back.
Once again, 5UP shoots for Gem straight away, seemingly realizing what no one else in the tournament has. Her history as a clutch shooter in Dodgebolt means Purple absolutely needs to take her out immediately, hence why they're prioritizing her with a danger level as high as Fruit's. Purple also makes another adjustment, letting SK take the second arrow since she's had more shots at the line than the other players, and thus more chances to steady her aim. It pays off, and she manages to snag fruitberries with her first shot. Suddenly, the mood has turned dire in the call for the Pink Parrots. Once again, it's just Grian and Scar, but this time facing even worse odds and pinned down by a 4v2. This is their last chance to stop the bleeding and stem the tide of Purple's rallying comeback cry. On the other side of the line, Scar musters all of the hot guy strength coursing through his veins, summoning the power of the Velocite and trains his bow on 5UP. Now, it should be noted, this man has not taken so much as a single shot yet in Dodgebolt. And with his first arrow of the day and the game literally on the line for his best friends, he just lets it fly. Dead center. Scar's done it. He's knocked out 5UP and given Pink a fighting chance to clinch the whole thing in round 4. It's unbelievable. It's incredible. Unfortunately, in classic Scar fashion, he gets so excited by the thing he's just done that for half a second his hands leave his keyboard to pop off and celebrate. And that's all it takes. SK immediately eliminates him, and seconds later, as Grian rushes to his aid, 4C strikes him upside the dome. The score is now 2-2. This thing is gonna go the distance. And that means it's time for the 2 greatest words in voxelated sports and entertainment. Game 5. Pink is starting to feel the pressure. Now the tables have turned on the presumptive overall favorites. Each individual member of the team is starting to crack under the strain in different ways. GoodTimesWithScar, the heart and soul of this team, can't help but feel like a dead weight after his only contributions on the scorecard wound up in a net loss. GeminiTay, God's favorite princess, has been completely taken out of the game, unable to activate her clutch gene and play a dominant role in this Dodgebolt finale. Fruitberries, their player coach, can feel the momentum so pivotal for victory slipping through his fingers like it has so many times before. Grian, though, is quiet. For 2 rounds in a row, he's been Pink's last man standing, and both times he's failed to make something happen with the ball in his hands. Maybe, in this moment, he thinks back to the only MCC he's ever won before. Maybe he remembers the way he so nearly lost it all. But this time, the stakes for that sort of failure are even higher. This time he won't just be disappointing himself. He'll be disappointing his best friends. From the very start, he's been the one manifesting this win into being, but now that facade of confidence is cracking in real time. Twice now he has let his people down. He cannot let that happen again. No matter what. Now that Purple has closed the gap, both teams are back to splitting their arrows at the start of the game. And in a lucky break, after starting off so hot in the last 2 rounds, the Pandas finally miss, meaning the Parrots can rotate back to the top 2 shooters in their starting lineup. Finally given a chance to affect the outcome of the game again, Gem gets her lick back by taking out 5UP straight away. Purple, returning fire, only manages to nail Scar, and the advantage switches back to the Parrots. And after going cold from the line previously, Fruit has a clutch hit here to get him back into the swing of things, managing to knock out SK, who's surprisingly risen to the 2 slot in Purple's depth chart. He doesn't even get a chance to celebrate, though. In the blink of an eye, 4C and the Dark Horse of Fan hit their shots when they matter most. Suddenly, Fruit is no longer on the arena floor. He and Gem are in the stands, marooning the last remaining parrot all by his lonesome. Oh god, it's happening again. The same thing that happened last year in San Diego for Fruit, the most agonizing defeat in his entire career, is playing out in real time. He's blowing a 2-round lead in Dodgebolt on the biggest stage in the history of the Minecraft Championships, and Fruit has been on his game all day long. At every turn, his meteoric individual performances have buoyed the Parrots' coin total, put them in the position they need to be in to win this, but no man is an island. This is a team sport, after all, and no matter how hard Fruit has tried, and God has he tried, no one player can carry a team to victory in MCC. Is this it? Is he cursed? Are they cursed? Will the weight of all those expectations be what finally causes the Pink Parrots to crumble? It doesn't matter. It's officially out of his hands. Because all the pandas have to do now to clutch this reverse sweep is pluck the feathers of a single pesky bird, the last man standing. So now we're back where we started, with Grian on the wrong end of a 2v1 and the hopes of his entire team resting squarely on his blocky shoulders. Grian stops, gathers himself, collects his thoughts, takes a deep breath, adjusts his visor, steadies his aim. He is currently, as his good friend Tim will later reveal, having a panic attack. One can only wonder what thoughts are flashing through his frantic mind right now. Over the tense, ever-mounting loop of the Dodgebolt theme, through the notoriously buggy audio on the Pink Parrot stream, you can just barely make out the sound of everyone in the audience chanting his name. In this moment, Grian experiences it all at the staggering zenith of human emotion, both the unbearable pressure and the unimaginable power of being the protagonist. And then, with the entire arena cheering him on, in front of his friends, on the biggest stage of his career, with the highest stakes, he bags himself a two-piece and slams the door shut. For Gem, for Fruit, for Scar, for the Parrots, for himself, last and least of all. Bang. Game 5. Pesky bird. You can never count out the underdogs. The first thing Grian does after jumping out of his chair is collapse into a hug with Scar. The entire team piles together behind their monitors, absolutely beside themselves. The second thing he does? He runs all the way across the stage to shake the hands of every single one of the purple pandas in person. They really were just happy to be there, man. How can you not be romantic about MCC? But this wouldn't be a Hermit team without a little more cosmic irony. Remember how I've mentioned a couple times before that there isn't a ramp onto the main MCC stage? Yeah, well, comedy comes in threes. Because this same lack of accessibility means that the Parrots are forced to accept their crowns on the floor of the arena, rather than the actual winner's stage. The one team in the entire tournament this could have happened to, and it happened to them. This could only have happened to them. If nothing else, this proves that despite their status as favorites, the Parrots were still underdogs in a cosmic sense, in the sense that Twitch never expected them to win, even though their peers and fans believed all along. God, I love this team. The story of the Pink Parrots ends pretty much exactly the same way it began, with Scar suffering yet more difficulties while traveling back home. This time after being berated by TSA for needing batteries for his and his dad's medical equipment, not to mention his entire wheelchair somehow winding up damaged in the process. If you stop to think about just how pervasive the systemic issue of ableism is throughout this entire trip, you might be in danger of tearing your hair out. But this time, at least, he has 2 new pieces of hardware to make the trip a little sweeter. The giant chunk of diamond ore from the Crafty Awards and his brand new copper crown. Because of course he got to keep the crafty. He's the heart and soul, man. When asked later on a post-TwitchCon stream about the difficulties of traveling with his disability and the particular pains he endured on this trip, when asked if he would do it all over again, Scar could only say the following.
MCCs are worth all the trouble to get to TwitchCon. It really is worth the trouble. It is absolutely worth the trouble.
So yes, if the Minecraft Championships Copper Crown was an anime, the Pink Parrots would be its protagonists. But protagonist is a funny word, because a protagonist isn't necessarily the same thing as a hero. Except sometimes it is. Sometimes protagonists are heroes. The Pink Parrots were that. This was a team that brought people together. This was a team that the community rallied behind, a team they made into the main characters. And it was that love and hope and belief that propelled them to the finish line. In the long and sordid history of the tournament anime that is MCC, the title of protagonist has been set in stone. It's awarded to the most popular players because their popularity dictates that they're inherently going to be the main characters. But to be a hero is something else. To be a hero, you have to achieve and struggle against great adversity to overcome it. I would argue the Parrots were the heroes of the Copper Cup, too, because they still showed up, in spite of every obstacle shoved in their way, in spite of every systematic failing they suffered from, and resolved to stand the gaff together. They didn't complain, they didn't bemoan their circumstances, they shut up and played their heart out, and miraculously, that was enough to win the day. That is an incredible act of nobility, of quiet resignation, and what makes it all the more incredible is that no matter how dire the odds, they did it together. There was no blaming, no finger pointing, and every time someone stumbled, the rest of the team was there to pick them up and try again. Each of them finished their respective stories out there on the Dodgebolt floor, and in the end, the biggest MCC tournament of them all was won by 4 people who couldn't have been more supportive of their competitors and of each other. And just like how toxicity can be infectious in the locker room, luckily that sort of positivity is too. In winning with grace, good humor, and dignity, the Parrots allowed every player brave enough to set foot in the Decision Dome at all to be a hero too. Especially in this Twitch Rivals format where the games are truncated, the audience is live, and the pressure is magnified exponentially, it would be so easy for these stakes to mount in the competition to turn sour. But they chose to show solidarity instead, and so did everyone else. Just look at the way the Parrots posed with the pandas after the MCC finale and cheered their former opponents on in the MCC after. Or the way Fruit put Grian's name on the back of his kit for that influencer footy match the following day, or this stupid TikTok where Gem pushes Grian on the beach, or the way everyone in the building was chanting for the Parrots in that magical moment. Or what about how in the 3rd season of speedrunning tournament mid-offs, when GoodTimesWithScar needed a coach, Fruit basically tripped over himself to bid on his buddy, even though literally no one else was interested in Scar, and all just because Fruit wanted to teach Scar how to speedrun and help him achieve his goals, even if they were antithetical to his own individual tournament success. This bond, this team, this story transcends winning and losing, coins and championships and crowns. Minecraft Championships somehow, against all odds, has created a space where perennial underdogs can become fan favorites, and fan favorites can become champions. It wasn't always that way, but we're lucky that's the way it is now. There's still competition, don't get me wrong, still fierce rivalries and hope and heartbreak, love and loss, and don't get me wrong, the community still has a long way to go in unlearning its most toxic traits and tendencies. But when the aces of your promotion started at the ground floor and battled their way to the very top, you know your community is in a good place. Because that means they know what it's like to be the underdog, and they won't forget it. When it's their turn at the top of the mountain, they pay it forward. We close on this scene of our 4 heroes celebrating, crowns in hand. A perfect, impossible ending to a perfect, impossible story. This has been the story from here on the arena floor of the San Diego Convention Center, home of TwitchCon and this year's MCC Twitch Rivals. This has been a sports documentary about the internet's favorite block game. And this was the story of how the Pink Parrots won the MCC Copper Crown. I'm Frostbyte Freeman, and until next time, stay frosty.
Just go, 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 go!
Hello, hi.
Good morning.